Hi, everybody, and welcome to Between Two Peers, a live stream show where the hosts invite a guest from around the known world to answer your pressing questions about life, the universe, and everything. This week is sponsored by Sangiovese because is there any other wine? The name means blood of Jupiter, sanguis Jovis in Latin, but I like to think of it as the bloody tears of my enemies. That's really our guest's writing. I mean, I like to think of that too, though. I am one half of your Broadway recording cast, Tulia Alori. I am from the West Kingdom. I am a Laurel. I just got into a stupid internet fight on my Kingdom Facebook page, like literally 10 minutes before the show started. So that should set you up for some sort of expectations about how possibly the show may go. And without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to my lovely co-host, Helga.
Hi, I'm Helga. I'm a knight, a pelican, and a royal peer from the West Kingdom. Most of you know me as Danger Muppet, because really, I'm just a giant Muppet about a lot of things. And so I'm super excited to be here tonight to have Giada on. We've been looking forward to this show for like 2 months now. And so I'm really grateful for her being here tonight. Giada, would you like to give your introduction?
Yes. Hi, I'm Giada. I am a Laurel and lover of all things Italian. I'm an independent researcher, and I love sharing the knowledge that I gain. If you want to read my intro that I carefully wrote, please do so, because I'm so nervous. I can't think of anything else to say. So hi, happy to be here.
We are happy to have you.
We can round this up with, she is awesome, full of snark, and has enough wit to cut fools. So, with that, I'm going to remind everybody of the drinking game. When a host or guest uses a non-SCA name when referring to somebody else on the show, our most commonly used drinking rule. When someone's pet appears on screen, when somebody calls for a soapbox or somebody uses one, when someone mentions spite sprinkles or touching toe beans, and the guest rule of the night is...
So I think if I have to say race, racism, or racist, then we should drink.
I like it.
Are you prepared for this?
I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So with that, and with that rule, everybody charge your glasses. I'm going to remind everybody that likes are for treats. And so 10 likes equals a doggo or a kitty treat amongst the crew's animals. And so please help us help them in their pleading eyes by liking the show. And you don't need to like the show right now. Make sure, like, at some point during the show. And with that, we're going to roll straight into the questions.
Okay.
Sassy?
Yeah. So this is a hard one. I'm really sorry about this, but how did you find the SCA?
By accident.
Does anyone ever intentionally?
To be honest, if I had known about it earlier in life, I would have absolutely joined. No question. I had just moved back to my home state of Louisiana for a job, and the person who was assigned as my mentor to get me acclimated to my new department was in the SCA. And during one of our breaks, she talked about a project she was doing. She was going to write to this museum and get pictures of like the underside of this doll that had been made pre-17th century because she was recreating it and she needed more pictures. I'm like, why would you need pictures of the underside? Well, because there's none online. Well, but why do you need to be that accurate? Well, because I'm in the SCA. Well, what is the SCA? So she said, come over, I'll show you the doll and I'll tell you about the SCA. So she did. And I left her house that day and I went home and I joined the SCA that night online and looked for my first event and went.
That's cool. Yeah, I think very few people intentionally find the SCA. They just sort of luck into it somehow.
Yeah. All right, so the next one from us to you. What drives your passion for your art or service?
What drives it? I mean, I feel like knowledge is power, but only when it's shared, not when it's hoarded. So for my art, sharing my research, sharing the things that I study and translate and uncover is me trying to empower other people. And for my service, I think in the SCA, it's because I love the SCA and I want to see it survive. And I know that to do that, we all have to work. So that's what drives my service.
Nice. Also well spoken.
Yeah. All right. Next question is from Sammy. Do you have a favorite account of a person of color in pre-1650 world history?
Yes, I have a few, but the one that comes to mind is the Duke of Florence. He was the first Duke of the Florentine Republic. His name is Alessandro de' Medici, and he's the son of Cosimo. His mother was an African servant. He was, illegitimate, but he was still raised as one of the Duke's children, and he became the first Duke of the Florentine Republic. He is an amazing kernel of truth of Black Africans in Renaissance Europe and how they could be portrayed, how they would be perceived, the fact that they did exist on many different levels, including this high level one. So yeah, he's one of my favorites, and his sister too.
I was gonna say she'd be mine, but but yeah, it's so something that attracted me to Italian history, honestly. And then ultimately, if I can just segue and deviate a little bit into it, making it about me for a second. It was something when I'd been in the SCA for probably 15-ish or more years, and I started getting uncomfortable with the very like Eurocentric, quote unquote, typical Eurocentric, the white Eurocentric, the white narrative of history, and I started looking for other cultures that were more inclusive and more that just had a wider variety than just like, hey, we're all white people. And Italy was like number one place. So that's kind of what initially drew me into Italian history. And the Medicis were killer, amazing people.
Literally.
Yeah, they were literally killer, amazing people. Both senses of the word. So true. But yeah, like, so anytime anyone says, well, there were no Black people in Europe at this time, well, we can literally point to the Duke of Florence, like 14th century, there you are, bam. So
nice. All right, well, that actually rolls really well right into the next question for you. This one's from Tink. What made you decide to go with an Italian persona?
Because there's no, well, no, I can't say that. That's horrible.
No, I want to hear what's horrible. Hang on, back that bus up. I want the horrible thing to fall right out of your mouth.
There's no better country. Like, why would I want to be from anywhere else? Like, where they're not taking baths, they don't smell that great, they're not using forks. Like, I want to be from the birthplace of the Renaissance. So that was part of it. The other part was I'd been to Italy and I spoke a Romance language. So I felt like if I was going to do any primary source research that I had a fighting chance with Italian. So that's my stock answer. But the other thing is actually the truth.
Okay, I need you to understand that on the show, you got to drop those truth bombs. Just have at. Like, this is, I don't need you set at a PG rating. I need like, full on, take the reins off. Let's go.
Hey, no pressure now.
All right, we ready for the next question?
Yeah, well, I mean, I could answer that too. I have an Italian persona. I mean, but it was really literally would be what she said. So, yeah.
Because you have forks and baths?
Yeah, but also kind of the birthplace of European culture. Like, really what we'd think of as European culture was all derived from movements out of the Italian Peninsula. And you can't get around that. They were sort of in this magical spot in their location, with all the major trade routes coming out of Asia and the Nordic countries, and then the England, France, Spain. Everything was sort of like converging on Italy. And Italy just had this incredible ability. And so we also have to talk about that Italy as a concept did not actually exist in our time period. This is something that this is much, much, much post period. the Italian, the idea of the Italian country as a unifying thing, but there were many of these Italian states that were sort of loosely linked by language, but there were a lot of regional languages being spoken as well. They also had sort of like so there's a lot of nuances. I'm not going to derail this and go super hard into the history of Italy, but the point is they were in a really kind of a really special place in Europe, and they were also filled with many cultures that were willing to be more flexible with what was coming in, as an influence, and then what was coming out as an influence, or influencing others. And it's just kind of a magical place. So highly recommend it. Go to Italy if you can do it. If you have the means, I highly recommend it.
Also, I'm just gonna interrupt here and say thank you very much. The Norse bathed.
No, they did. They did. No, that's true. No.
I don't know. Did they?
They did. Actually, the Norse were known for being incredibly well groomed. Like,
yes, they were. Okay, fine. Yes, I know they were. But they're from a very cold place, and I'm of the black race.
Mm-hmm.
I like how you even drank that with like a fuck you level of sass.
We're all here like, yeah.
I don't like being cold, so and I'm from the deep south, so wearing wool, it just now that I'm in An Tir,
yeah,
bring it on.
Well, and that's the other thing too, which is funny because that's how I also gravitated towards Italy, which was that we're in California, so we're in that very hot part of California, and it doesn't get very cold here. And so, what's the least amount of clothing I can wear and still be fabulous? Exactly. You are rocking it. Let's move on to the next.
Before we go on to the next question, I just have to apologize to everybody. If anybody has a seizure due to this, I think my ring light is trying to go out, and it's over here just like.
Uh-oh.
So all of a sudden, if I go dark, I'm just gonna like rock on and just be a dark screen over here. So, but yeah, it's having emotional issues over here in the corner.
All
That's what I get for buying the cheap one.
They're all cheap, dude.
All right, so the next question.
Yeah, okay, so that's for me. This is from Hans. If I am buying drinks for the three of you, what am I buying?
So if you're buying, then probably 72 Sangiovese from Romagna. Just get the whole bottle. Just do it.
Just the whole bottle.
The whole thing.
I'm pretty sure my husband's about to come around this corner and just propose to you.
Little known fact, Hans is kind of a foodie, like, yeah. Oh, I see it. I've witnessed it firsthand. His isn't his
what was that port we had at your he's not your uncle.
Yeah, man.
Your uncle's place. What was that?
It's a private label that's not something that's sold.
Okay, I literally can't answer this at this point because I had port at his uncle's house. It is a private label, and the bottles were like fucking 75 years old. Like, you want to talk about a 75-year-old port? Like, it has ruined me for all other ports. Like, just insane. Like, and what sucked is it wasn't stored right, so it was every other bottle was bad. And so like literally he's like, oh yeah, we're just gonna open this one and see it. Like, how much is this? And he's like, probably a truck payment for you. And just opens the bottle, like, not this one's good, and just hands it to us. Like,
which family member was this?
His uncle.
Oh, so it's not the brother-in-law who has the Michelin star.
No. Yeah, no joke. It's just the weirdest family, also the most amazing family. But this port was like rich and had like a cherry chocolate backing to it. And it was just like, if I can get my hands on more bottles of that, I would only drink that port. But to be realistic about this answer, I'm going to go with a double dark and stormy right now with extra lime.
That's really nice, actually. That's a really easy drink, and it's one of those drinks that you can make at an event easily, which makes it even better. So Hansa, if you were buying me a drink, right now, you're in luck. You wouldn't have to spend thousands of dollars on me yet. I would say you would buy me, though, at least 3 Sazeracs in order to have a shot at getting me to cuddle with you. That's my answer.
He'd probably do it.
Is he listening?
He just walked downstairs with a bottle of port. I think he's gonna go get glasses.
He didn't even listen to me.
It's okay. He can watch. He watches the episodes later.
All right, well, fine then. 3 Sazeracs is what it takes to get me to cuddle with you.
I'm taking notes.
So when are you guys going to come to New Orleans to visit me so we can get some Sazeracs?
Girl,
Yes.
Okay, so the 6th year or 7th year anniversary of my first trip to New Orleans was this week, and all of these memories popped up in my my Facebook about it because it is literally magical. And I'm a convert about how great New Orleans is, and the Sazerac is the city's kind of drink. Although I disagree with how some of the best bars in the city make it. I do not think it should be made with Pernod or cognac, but we have arguments about that every single time, but I'll still drink it. So
that's appropriate, though. We like to have arguments about food and drink here.
That's perfect. I love arguing about food and drink.
I'm good with this. And I want to go to NOLA more. Please, let's do this. I've only been there twice.
Oh, it's so much fun. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's one of our Thorfinn and I are, we have our list of after COVID is quote unquote over and we can, start traveling again. The first stop's Disneyland. The second stop is going to be New Orleans. And then after that, I don't know, Europe, who knows? The world.
Just the world. There's so many places I want to go. Okay, cool. So the next question, this one comes from Anonymous. How do service-oriented folks serve online?
Okay. Man, there's so many ways. And I would say do what's in your comfort level, right? So for instance, our corporate DEI officer has a weekly, This Week in DEI show where she educates people, from her position online. She also streams that to YouTube and then it gets put on. There are people who run events completely online. There are people who have classes on their pages or their Facebook Live pages. There's a whole Facebook group. I can't think of the name right now. It just is not in my head.
Is that the inclusion, diversity, and no, it's diversity, inclusion, and
no. The one that's for online education.
Oh, right. You're right. I'm blanking too. Sorry.
Green Clover or something like that. I can't think of it right now. But if you go on Facebook and type in SCA online classes, this group will come up, and there's a catalog of what people are doing across all the known world, across all the kingdoms, what classes are going to be available that week online.
That's the known world entertainment guide.
No, the known world entertainment guide. I need to get them hooked up with the known world.
Oh, right. That's classes versus.
It's a different one. Tiffany Ballard is one. Her Facebook name is Tiffany.
Oh, Honorable Clover. Someone just posted and said Honorable Clover.
Yes. I think that yes. So that is a great example of how we can do better at making the SCA accessible to all kinds of people and something that's going to last past the pandemic thing. So those are all, there is actually a service symposium that's online, so you can learn more about service, how to be an autocrat, how to run events, how to be a chatelaine, how to be an officer, all those things. So I think there's a lot of opportunities available, and those are just some of them that I can think of off the top of my head.
Nice.
Okay, so I'm getting notifications that my internet is a little dodgy. So if I cut out, I will be scrambling, but just to warn everybody, I don't know what's happening.
So just to give everybody a heads up is San Jose right now is on warning for possible drops.
Yeah.
And so at any point in time, either of us could just be click and gone.
It's not at the same time though, because then we're really screwed.
Well, I mean, then Giada, Baby Ninja, and Curious run the show. And then
as long as someone other than us has the hosting abilities, the magical hosting abilities, so we'll be fine. Anyways, let's see. Next question.
Yep.
Well, actually, I don't know. We didn't answer that. So
yeah, I was about to say, you have to answer that and I have to answer that.
Okay, so I don't think of myself as a service-oriented person. I accidentally do service. I don't intentionally do it. But if I were to say, try to like think outside this box here, the ways of doing service when we can't meet in person can include things like facilitating discussions online and being proactive about it, even if it's only on your, like, say, your Facebook page. I can also say things like, if you're not on Facebook, if you have, say, a YouTube channel or something like that, you're putting up tutorials or discussions or other forms of outreach that just get not just get your voice out there, but get engagement back. So even if you're only connecting with like one person, you're making that difference in that person's life, and that's worth it. And I think that that's something that's worth keeping in mind, is in this day and age of influencers with, like, thousands and hundreds of thousands and even millions of followers. It doesn't really matter, but when you're connecting with somebody one-on-one, or a handful of people, that's just as important. So whatever you can do, whatever you can share, however you can encourage sharing or doing online is helping. And that's my grasping at anything response. Helga.
All right. So
the Pelican.
Okay, so one of the things is, I'm actually going to bring up something that I've been asked about a couple times. Is I got asked why I normally repeat the question, and it's because my brain doesn't work normally, and so I repeat the question because it actually centralizes my thought process on the question. So please deal with the fact that I just repeat the questions every time to make it so my brain works right, because that's just how it works. So how do service-oriented folks serve online? There's many ways. So part of the thing is the online world is different than in person. And a lot of people that were like, what I would say is consistent court members or consistent small service members, which in that small service, I don't mean to take it away and say that it's a small thing. It's the finite things that make a reign run or make the SCA run. So it's like the Heralds, the list mistresses, the pages, all of that. Right now, they're having a really hard time like refinding their place in an online SCA world. And that's really hard, and it sucks because when you're used to providing a physical service or a service by your presence, you're now having to migrate online with it. And just because we're in a pandemic doesn't mean that we get rid of that want to serve, especially if we have a little bit of a people pleaser mentality, or like that's one of the ways that we validate how we're dealing with depression or other things that are going on. And so all of this is to say that we all have our coping mechanisms, and people that are physical servants or service-based people in the world, and servant is really the wrong word, but it's kind of the right word. It's not meant as demeaning. And so I'm tripping over myself in this process. I tried to think through this question like 7 times and it all just sucks coming out. And so for those people, because I'm one of them, I want to be in person. I want to provide something to somebody with a physical action, or like, I can lift this for you, or I can be there to be a shoulder to cry on, or something like that. And so what I would say is look into how you can help the people that are running the online things and learning that platform. So if you've got people that are modding things, like, do you need help modding? Can I keep an eye on this channel for you? Do you need help making class banners? Do you need help like promoting this event? Like, how can you learn a new skill online that then transfers into the real world when all this goes back? Because we're still going to need this. The SCA functionally will have changed vastly by the time we're out of the pandemic, and I'm hoping for the better. And so I think there's many things that those service-oriented folks right now that are struggling, if they reach out to those that are doing, they will likely be assigned a job. Because I can guarantee you, like, making class banners is something that a lot of people need help with. Helping market things is a lot of stuff that people need help with, because it just makes our community bigger, the more hands that are helping do some of that small push around work, and it makes us all better for it. And so please, I hope that this didn't come across as demeaning. I feel like I tripped over myself like 7 times in it. But just reach out to those that are doing, and they will help find you a spot while you're doing, to fill that niche and need. And now that I've totally stuck my foot in the mouth, can we go to the next question?
Oh, I think that's going to be like par for the course for this episode. I also feel as if I am massively doing that too. Let's see.
So can I?
Yeah, please.
Can I just interrupt for just 1 second? I actually wanted to explain something, like do a service really quick, because I was inspired by what Helga said.
I was like, I'm ready.
I know, it always happened. My service to you guys tonight is to normalize the words race, racism, and racist. Also, white supremacy and bigotry. These are just words. They have meanings. Some are problematic, but we need to normalize talking about problems, right? Because we can't solve them if we can't discuss them. So I want to like break down the barriers about that and say the word race, racism, racist, not in a derogatory way, but in a, hey, it's just a word type way. So I'm gonna drink because I said all 3 of them.
Yeah, you just said all 3. I took a big swig.
I'm swigging now. I'm trying to actually get my boyfriend to bring me a fresh cocktail because I'm down to the dregs now, but I'm drinking the dregs.
And I also want to say I'm throwing down the gauntlet.
I have
a bottle of Sangiovese. I have this, which was full when we started. I have a carafe. I have water, and I have a servant bringing me more water when I call them.
Are super prepared, and I love you.
Challenge accepted. Okay. We are drinking tonight. All right.
Okay, so with that, I'm just actually going to segue in, and I'm going to leave both you guys can answer this one. Is you actually had a really good segue to the first submitted question?
Yeah.
Or do we want to handle that question a little more drunk?
I'm going to leave it to our guest.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay. So, Baby Ninja, please hang on for this ride. We're going to do the first submitted question because this is actually a really good segue. And so everybody, here we go. Sassy, do you want to read? I figured we'll just go back to our normal.
Yeah, I can go ahead and read it. Let me just get back into our chat where we had it written out. Okay, so this came from Halfdan, who is a Westie, and he says, so I am a cis male white fighter. A lot of times when I hear that someone is racist / sexist / homophobic, I'm like, oh dang, he's always been cool to me. What can someone like me do to be more aware?
I mean, if they've always been cool to you, that's great. I don't know if there's anything you can do to be more aware, except to believe someone when they tell you their experience with that person, and not say, because they've always been cool to me, then they could not have possibly been this other way to you. Because it's possible that someone can be really cool to hang out with, but also have some biases they need to work on that they actually, act on. For instance, last year, I was in the kitchen of a friend of mine's, and someone in the kitchen said the N-word. They've always been cool to me. I was at their house. They were my friends. So there was nothing I could do to be more aware of that. However, I was aware that in that moment, what happened was not okay. And then I had to choose how I was going to address it. So I think if you do the same, you'll be fine. If someone tells you they've had a bad experience with someone, believe them. And if you see that person acting out of character for what you know, call them on it and say, hey, is that how we're going to act today? That's my answer.
That's a good answer. Also, yikes.
Yeah.
It was horrible, y'all. It was horrible.
Yeah.
What I'm going to say is, in this question, you have to be aware of your own confirmation bias, and you have to be aware of your own accepted abuses. So the way I'm going to address this one is, because I am not a POC, I am white as fuck, I would like to note. So this is not something that I run into, but what I try to do for my POC friends is to make sure that I listen when they say that, because each person is going to handle everybody differently. That's part of the thing. We create our own little persona of that person, and then we try to maintain it. And so if they're cool to us, well, they must be cool to everybody, right? Because that's acceptable. And so what I try to do is work outside my own bubble a lot. And if somebody says, hey, this person's a problem child, I'll be like, whoa, okay. I have never experienced this. Please tell me what you're experiencing. How can I be aware of this? Like, what is going on? Are you uncomfortable? Or is this something you want addressed? Or are you venting? Like, what do we need to do? So we're going to roll back to making a victim feel heard and feel safe before any action is taken. But one of the things is I'm always trying to be aware of my bias around people. And amusingly enough, my husband is a great example of that, because my husband is the apex murder peacock for a reason. And he can actually get a little ego-y occasionally, but he's not like that with me ever. And this is something that is a very old behavior. And I had somebody be like, dude, he was being really just fucking full of himself. And I'm like, man, he's never like that with me. And they're like, you sleep with him. I was like, you know, you're right, actually. Like, I'm not seeing other stuff. And so like, I try to make sure that I'm also taking feedback like that. And so one of the ways that I would say is you can help is by understanding that you might be part of the problem by maintaining the idea that that person isn't. When other people are telling you like, hey, I don't feel comfortable around that person, or that person is using racist slurs, or that person is putting their hands on me, or like they're not okay when they're drunk. Yes, I know, totally.
I'd love to drink as well. But
and so that's what I would say is be aware of your own confirmation bias and trying to protect your own idea of a person. That way you can actually address problems and everybody can grow out of it. The second thing is you can be called racist, homophobic, xenophobic, everything else like that. I need you to understand that action is racist, homophobic, xenophobic, everything else like that, which means you can then change the action so you can delete the acronym. Like, I'm sorry, was that racist? The thing that I just said? Cool. Right now, I'm actually racist. Fuck. Okay, like, let me address this behavior right now. And if all of us deal with that, if every single one of us start doing that, it means the conversations can happen. And so as an outsider asking this question, what I'm going to say is understanding that that title or that acronym around somebody means there's an addressable problem, not that you just like everything else. So that's my very roundabout way of like answering that.
You made me think of a resource. I just want to say, when you were talking, it popped into my head, how to be anti-racist. There are books and articles and actually like checklists, especially how to be an anti-racist costumer, how to be an anti-racist reenactor. There are people who have written about this. And so one thing you can do to be more aware is read some of those pieces of literature.
Can you send me those titles so I can read them?
Also, Gigi, you were recently on a panel that I watched about, and this is deviating heavily, but the Bridgerton, right? The yeah. So Netflix's new Regency series Bridgerton, which has had a lot of press because it's very quote unquote inclusive, because it has people of color in major roles, and but there's a very good YouTube discussion that Gigi is a part of, and like 4 or 5 other POC costumers and costume historians, and that is sorry, I'm totally blanking on her name all of a sudden. It's hosted by
Costuming Drama.
Costuming Drama, yes. If you look her up on YouTube, you can also watch that, and there was a lot of good discussions about that. I just wanted to plug that, but yeah, now I'm off on a
also we drop mundane names.
Sorry, Gigi. Well, Giada, Gigi, right? It sort of works that way, right?
I've been practicing her SCA name all day.
Giada. So I would love to keep drinking, but somebody is not watching, and and it's past 7:30 when he knows that he's supposed to bring me a cocktail. So now I'm kind of concerned. But the question now, okay, so now we get to my non-neurotypical issue is that if it's not right in front of me, I have a hard time tracking it. And I was the one that asked the question. So okay, actually, this is something that I wanted to kind of talk about from So Sassy picked a fight on the internet today, kind of on this topic. And I'm going to use it for a moment to be a bit of a soapbox. And if I had a cocktail, I'd drink, but I don't. So
I think this is my new favorite thing of just Thorfinn not bringing you a drink.
he's not watching. He normally watches, but I think he's upstairs just like on his game. Anywho, so my little soapbox actually has to do with the early years of the women fighters in the SCA. And this Sassy got a little sassy this right before we went on the show because someone posted a question to the Ask the Chivalry Facebook page today, and I saw the question. It was asking about the origin of the story of how fighters or women fighters, female fighters, I should say, female fighters in the SCA became a thing. And there's this apocryphal story about a king of an undisclosed kingdom who says, one day he says to me, or he says to the populace that there will be no female fighters in my tournament. And everybody goes, gasp, how could you be so terribly sexist? And then he says, but there will also be no male fighters. There will only be fighters. And everyone says, yay. And the SCA is super inclusive and everyone hugs it out and feels good about themselves. Well, what quickly came to light is that is absolutely not a story that is backed up by the actual history of the SCA, because a lot of the people that contributed to the history of the SCA are still alive and very willing to share the information. There is a story that was told by a duke of the West Kingdom very early on about one of the very first women that showed up in armor, and it was shared. The accurate story was shared in response, which does not cast the SCA in a very good light. What it casts the situation as is a young woman shows up and says, I want to be taken seriously. I want to fight. And all the guys are like, no. So she manages to scrape together some armor and she shows up at a tournament, and one of a duke says, all right, I'll fight you. So she's untrained. She's in barely legal armor. Thank you, darling. I finally have a cocktail I can drink for this soapbox. And then the next thing you know, he one-shots her in the armpit. So she falls to the ground in tears. Oh, she's a girl, so she's crying. And part of the story, of course, is, and I do not know if this is a true statement or not, but allegedly she says, how could you hit me like that? I'm a girl. And then the comment that comes after this account is actually on the West Kingdom history site. The comment after this is, this set women fighters in the SCA back 6 to 8 years. So this happened in 1967. The first female knight of the SCA was in 1976, I think. So almost a decade later, we have the first, female fighter recognized for her fighting ability. And so to me, I'm reading this as, I'm not reading this as stupid fighter girl who thinks she's like all badass and then she's just like a stupid little girl who can't hit a hit. I'm seeing this as a fighter who wants to be taken seriously, shows up, is not taken seriously, gets hit, ouch, and next thing you know, it's her fault that the women fighters in the SCA can't, be taken seriously. So that was my big fight on the internet right before we went on the show. And I want to say, though, that that's part of what this conversation is about. How can someone who is inoculated to all of this, microaggressions and the, racism or sexism, see that these things are happening? You can't always see these things are happening. But when you read these accounts or you hear these accounts being told to you, what you need to do is step back and think critically about the situation and say, like, and what I'm hearing is not a story about, a silly little girl fighter who thought she was just as good as the boys, who got shown a thing or two, ha ha ha. But is it really, if this person had a penis and they showed up, would they have been treated the same way? Or if this person was white and they had shown up, would they have been treated the same way? And that's when you have to kind of understand, you've got to take a little bit of a step back And it's hard. It is really hard. I fail at it. There are blind spots everywhere in my, world, which is why my friend group is very broad and is composed of people of, different races, different religions, different genders. And I learn to listen to their voices. When I think something is just a funny haha story and they're like, yo, that is not cool. Here's why. Oh, I've learned and now I'm aware and now I can move on. So broaden your friend group, broaden the people that you talk to, broaden your experiences, and also think critically about these stories that are set up to sound like somebody is being the villain when in reality they're the actual victim of the way the SCA operates. And I will drink now because I can.
Thorfinn got all the text messages.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're ready to go to the next question?
I think so.
Sassy, that one's actually on you for the next question.
Oh wait, no, it goes to you actually. Remember we do, or do you want to just switch back?
I figured we would just switch back that way. I didn't have to go and like change everything real quick, but I can't. Whatever you would like, I'm happy to do that.
Okay, so actually this one is from you, Gigi, to you. And that is, how and where are we going to build an authentic and positive relationships online during COVID?
When did I ask that question? Wow.
It was in your questionnaire.
Yeah.
I totally stole that one. I was like, click.
What did I think the answer was when I wrote it is my question to myself now. Okay, so can you use the word in a sentence, please? Just read the question one more time.
Oh yeah, no, sure. How and where are we building authentic and positive relationships online during COVID?
Oh, wow. I think all over, honestly. I can think of a lot of different, this show in particular, I've met you two through this show largely and through the people that you met through this show. And now I have two new amazing friends who I can't wait to meet in person after pandemic times.
In NOLA over drinks.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so on.
Yes. But the authentic, I wonder why I wrote it that way when I wrote it. So I'm just going to assume that authentic is kind of the linchpin here. How are we building authentic relationships online and showing who we truly are and not just showing one facet of ourselves through photos and posts, but like showing us as complete human beings. And I think that part of that is, for me, is doing things like this, interview shows where I don't know what all the questions are, right? So you guys get to see me stumble over my words a little bit, think for a second, be silly, be goofy, be serious, but all those different parts of me. So that's me being authentic in my weird, different way, right? In my neurodivergent way, it's all me. So people who want to get to know me need to understand that there's all those parts of me. So authentic, I think, is where I was probably going with that. And I think for me, just asking other people to do the same, like show me who you are. I really want to know who you are. I don't want to know who your representative is because like they usually aren't that cool, honestly. They're very usually one-dimensional. So that's my answer.
So I absolutely adore this question, which is the reason why I snatched it out of your so we send all of our guests a questionnaire now. I would like to note, we didn't figure this out until like episode 30, when all of a sudden I was like, we should probably really ask what like type of questions our guests want to answer. Yeah. And that would make everybody's life easier. And so I built a questionnaire, and then this question showed up in one of our answers. And I just absolutely adore it. How and where are we building authentic and positive relationships online is the online. So all of us are learning how to interact online, and we used to treat online interactions kind of like a journal, like some sacred thing. But really, it's out in the internet. Like who we are and what we are is out in the internet, because we respond to things and people get to know us. And one of the things that's been really cool for the SCA about this is that it's shattered kingdom barriers. We are all a little starved for SCA content. Like many of us have lives that revolve around our weekends in the SCA. And also we've been taught kingdom biases. Like Aidenveld and Outlands are always at war. The West Kingdom stands alone as the heroic First Kingdom. And there's every barrier in the book that's all written about our fictitious kingdoms with our personas that we're supposed to be at war. Like, this is a barrier. This principality always fights this principality. And I think COVID has just broken that. It's given us the golden opportunity of we are forced to interact online. And so we must set aside our kingdom cultivated biases about each other. And we must then interact as real human beings. And so what I think it's doing is it's getting rid of years of bad blood. It's getting rid of like years of weird behaviors that we've all been taught about what this should be and what this means and everything else like that, because now we're all stuck talking on the web. And because it's basically in raw human form due to the fact that it's a keyboard and you can't hear emotion, you can't type out emotion, really. We're all learning how to get rid of our biases to actually have real conversation with each other. And this exchange of knowledge has turned into a huge pool where I have a feeling that when we come back, kingdoms will be taking traditions from other kingdoms, because you're going to see future royalty that during COVID, they were like, oh no, like I learned about this kingdom tradition and this was really cool. And so I want to bring this to our kingdom. Like, I learned about this, and like, there's all these other things. We're like, why do these biases even exist? Because back in AS Rocks Were Soft, two dukes decided to have a dick stroking contest at each other, and then they taught their households to hate each other. And now all of that is disappearing because it cannot stand when everybody is talking this way. And so it's created this huge exchange of knowledge, which is literally making it so we are one big community versus a bunch of kingdoms that interact only at wars. And so that's really kind of how I think we're authentically doing it, is that right now we have no barriers. There's no kingdom lines.
Did anyone call a soapbox on that? Because that kind of was soapbox.
Sorry, was that soapboxy?
Oh.
I also made the jerk off motion 3 times.
So. And yeah, so the jerk off motion, AS Rocks Were Soft, and I don't know. There was probably a fuck your feelings in there somewhere. I'm not sure.
I didn't say fuck your feelings. Like I might have kind of said fuck your feelings. Shit.
I know. No, I mean, you kind of did in a broad sense, and I do not disagree with it. But
yeah.
Actually, I would like to say, honestly, the both of you very much encapsulated my thoughts very thoroughly. And I think in that regard, I am going to totally punt this, and I'm going to say we should go to commercial. Because
I'm going to totally say somebody has to go pee.
Somebody has to use the little tool in this room.
Armlin makes high-quality medieval and Renaissance leather items for the reenactor, living history enthusiasts, and those who appreciate handmade items. From early period turn shoes to Tudor cowmouth shoes, even wooden pattens to keep you out of the mud. They carry a selection of standard footwear as well as creating custom items. If you don't see what you're looking for, send pictures or a reference and Armlin can likely make it. In addition to footwear, Armlin also makes leather jacks, bottles, and 3-fingered gloves. Drinking vessels are impregnated with beeswax and lined in brewer's pitch. You can find them online at armlin.com or at facebook.com/armlin. At the Fairy Tales Chest, you can find a large selection of replica historic jewelry from various cultures, including Viking, Baltic, and Slavic. The artist is an immigrant from Ukraine, and as such, her biggest passion is various Slavic temple rings. All jewelry in the shop are reproductions of authentic archaeological findings. You can also find looms and weaving tools, as well as hand-forged sewing needles and complete sewing kit. The proprietor does the band weaving herself, so most models of tools and looms have been personally tested. You can find the Fairy Tales Chest on Etsy at etsy.com/shop/thefairytaleschest. Happy shopping! Owl's Nest Wares creates one-of-a-kind inkle-woven trim and belts. Choose from a selection of pre-made items or contact the artist to create something to perfectly match your needs. They also make necklaces from colorful wooden beads to add a pop of color to your wardrobe. Check them out today and let them know that Between Two Peers sent you. You can find them on Facebook at Owl's Nest Wares. That's Owl's Nest Wares on Facebook. Armlin makes.
Well, and we're back. And Miss Sassy has not returned yet. So we're going to touch bases with something that came up real quick. I was private messaged by one of our amazing viewers to make sure that we weren't sticking Giada on the pedestal of, hey, you're a POC person, you need to answer and or address all POC like questions, comments, or concerns while on the show. And so what I'm going to bring up is the fact that we're actually, all the questions that are like that, we actually try to pre-bring to our guests so they aren't put in a box and or expected to answer that. Because everybody comes onto the show with a unique experience and their experiences within life. And well, Giada happens to be African American. And so one of the things we want to do, oh my God, everybody shocked face. And one of the things that we don't want to do is put her into a box in the process of being on the show. So we actually chose questions all the way around. And any of the questions that are race sensitive or, like diversity, equity sensitive, we're actually running through her so she can then choose which ones to answer or not on the show. And so we just wanted to let all of our viewers know that we actually try to be very cognizant about like just expecting our guests to be like, oh, well, you fit this category, so you must answer all these questions. And so
everybody drink, because my Cane Corso just showed up and slobbered on my chemise.
Oh yeah.
Missed it.
Oh, you have a Corso?
Yes, I do.
Well, let me see the baby. Can you get on the like her, him, them?
Oh my God.
Oh,
so
just
good.
staring at me.
What's her name?
So good.
His name is Titano Blue, which is Titan in Italian.
Oh, he's so good.
We accept this. I would like to note that Hans is making little squeaky noises over my shoulder and you can't hear him. But he is totally making dog squeaky noises.
Oh, I can hear. I can hear this like high-pitched like
right from the husband. And so Giada, you had something that you wanted to say before we roll back into questions?
I want to say I do appreciate that you guys are vetting those with me and letting me choose whether or not I want to address them. I am all for addressing them right now because I am of the Black race.
Shocking.
And although I'm a lot of other things too, right? I am a scientist. I am an Italophile. Did I say I'm an Italophile? And a scientist, and I have a master's degree, and I travel the world, and I speak 4 languages. Like, I'm a lot of things. And you could ask me about all those things, right? But I'm also looked at as a token, right? Because I am Black and I'm in the SCA, and I'm in the SCA visibly, sometimes it comes to my attention that people do see me as Black before all of those other things that I think are more cool about me than being Black. So thank you for allowing me to opt out of that, but I am totally owning it now because I want people to know I am not a token. I am not a safe Black person. I am not here to acquiesce to your fetishization or your ideology of what a good Black person should be because I speak the way I do and I come to the SCA and I'm super smart and all that. No, I'm just a regular Black person, and we're going to talk about race because it's been put in my face so much and I've tried to ignore it that I'm done doing that. I'm done doing that.
I mean, to be fair, we really needed this.
To be fair.
Wait, to be fair. All right, sorry. We need to do a new drinking game rule, which is drink whenever Letterkenny is referenced. But to be fair, this is long overdue in the SCA. These conversations, this is an inflection point that is happening in our larger culture, the larger culture that surrounds the SCA, and it absolutely affects the SCA. And these are dialogues and conversations and voices that need to be heard right now. So.
And it affects the people of color in the SCA. When we are tokenized, it really is hurtful to us.
Mm-hmm.
It really dehumanizes us.
Yeah.
It is a function of white supremacy. And if you stand against racism and bigotry and white supremacy, then you should be standing against tokenizing me.
1, everybody drink, and 2, Giada, I didn't need you to be any hotter right now, but holy crap, are my nipples hard over this.
Yeah, and actually somebody in the comments just mentioned, said there are lots of us who need and want someone to bring race into the conversation. So, and I do think that this is a weird this is a weird white person thing, which is the feeling uncomfortable about saying or acknowledging or addressing people of color in the SCA, and acknowledging it, and or not knowing how to acknowledge it, not knowing how to address it, not knowing how to validate or to welcome or anything like that. And so it comes into this weird stage of how do we, but I no. And I think saying it actually and normalizing it is one step. Yes, Helga.
And so Sassy, if I may build on that, because I agree, is one of the things that as being white as fuck and in the society is I must openly recognize where I'm racist or homophobic or xenophobic. And I work very, very hard not to be, but part of the working very hard not to be is also recognizing where I am.
Well, there's always yeah.
Yeah, and so we must recognize this in this conversation. The reason why being called racist or being called xenophobic or being called homophobic isn't something that is like, oh my god, commit seppuku, world end for me, is because now I have an addressable behavior. And that's something as on the other side of that token, that like that entire, or the coin, not token, by the way, sorry, that was just my brain being like, oh, tokenism, can't use that word. Is that on the other side of the coin of being the person that can cause the harm is you must own your part in it. Even if you are doing good, you are still probably have an area or two you can still work in. And the best way I can put this is on the Between Two Peer server about a month ago, I 100% dropped a fucking term that is unacceptable. Unacceptable, but I had never been taught differently. And so I got called out publicly on the server and said, whoa, wait. And they're like, hey, we can have a private conversation about this. And I said, no, let's have a public conversation about this, because I will own that what I just did was not okay, but I need you to educate me on why. Like, can we please use me as an example right now of what I just did was actually not cool? So instead of like, take me out behind and have a private conversation, let's have a public conversation. And so what I'll say is like, in this entire conversation, what we can do as people that fuck up is own it publicly, especially as people that are visible, is the more visible you are, is own that shit. So you can teach the next generation, because if you hide when you're corrected, the next generation doesn't get your lesson. Sorry, apparently that was my soapbox. I'm going to drink.
Sorry.
Thank you, Giada. Did I just get a golf clap off that?
You got a slow clap, yeah.
Oh, girl. I'm going to give you some décolletage for that.
I like your décolletage.
Also, I would like to note that I 100% heard the splashing. Oh, the Lady of the Lake.
Have a Lady of the Lake.
I would also like to note that Sammy wins with the corgi post-its. They have shown up since they've been to the house.
They're pretty good.
So the Lady of the Lake asks a very serious question. Favorite pizza, deep dish or crispy?
Favorite pizza.
Oh my god. I just had this conversation with Thorfinn.
So some people have an alcohol problem.
Sorry, she just corrected me. Favorite pizza, ? Deep dish or crispy? ? This is 2 questions.
Two-part drama.
She just threatened me with the sword. I would like to note you keep going. See right there. There is stabby shit coming towards me.
Pizza's serious.
Pizza is serious.
Right, I'm going back downstairs for my pizza.
You win.
So I'm thinking about this. I appreciate that they added complexity at the last minute to this question. So now it's 2 questions. So pizza question, favorite pizza ? I like veggies and meats together. So like at the chains, I get like the Supreme or the Works that have meat and veggie. Always has to have bacon on it, though, right? And then the second one, deep dish or crispy. And some people have an alcohol problem. I have a bread problem. So deep dish, because I also love cheese. So I love the bread and the cheese. Yeah, deep dish all the way. I kind of want to be alone right now to think about this. Like, I'm on keto, so I haven't had bread.
Oh, that's oof.
Wait,
That's
well, you don't have like a single pound to lose, you skinny bitch.
oh. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get
The
your
camouflage.
go play. Somebody's a little triggered by weight conversations right now. But so for me, I am a heretic. So I was practically, essentially, for all intents and purposes, married to a New Yorker for many years. And it was a huge bone of contention in our life because not only were pineapples not allowed on pizza, it had to be thin crust. It had to be so floppy you could roll it up like in a burrito and drip grease and shove it in your face like it was some sort of X-rated video. And that was what was considered pizza. And to me, as a Californian who has no dog in this race whatsoever, just, is it delicious? I want to eat it. Okay, I don't have to fight about it. I will say though, my preference is for deep dish. And I will say the reasoning behind that is that the sauce and cheese ratio on a deep dish pie, that is the shit. And I am all about the cheese. All about the cheese. Also, you shut your face. This is me, not you. This is me. I am, in fact, my Laurel, one of her many talents is cheese making. And when we first met, like properly met, we had met before when I was like a dumbass teenager in the SCA, and she was queen, and I completely embarrassed myself. But many years later, when we re-met, when I was less of a dumbass, well, actually, no, I was probably equally as bit of a dumbass, but older. And then we ended up becoming Laurel, an apprentice. One of her many talents is cheese making, and she's a foodie, and she introduced me to all sorts of wonderful cuisines of the world and everything. This is Duquesa Juana Isabella de Montea y Ramirez. Oh my God, I almost fucked it up. But Mama Juana gave me the world of cheese, and she calls me her little, and I'm going to drop my mundane name so you can all just drink if you want, her little Sarah Mouse. But yes, you can always bribe me with cheese. Always bribe me with cheese, because cheese is delicious and wonderful, and I want more of it. And so deep dish has cheese. Also, I am a fan of pineapple on my pizza. Suck it. I like Hawaiian. The end.
All right, everybody calm down.
All right.
It's just pizza.
So I'm going to use the most offensive statement that I can at this current moment in time. I like how Giada is like emotionally prepping herself for what I'm about to drop.
I may be
and I'm going to say that I'm a glutard. And so I got recently diagnosed celiac. And
I don't think tard is an okay term anymore. I'm not entirely
Yeah, I know. That's where I'm like, I need to come up with a different one.
So just say you're gluten intolerant?
I fucking hate admitting it. It's an emotional thing.
Yeah, so don't like hide behind the...
I know. I gotta figure out a different term. I'm not allowed the glutens. And the glutens are in everything.
The glutens.
The glutens. It's not like the glutes. I put my hands on those. The glutens, I am not allowed to touch. And so right now, my favorite is there is a place that does like a thin crust, but it's done out of cauliflower, and it's really effing good. Oh my God. Because I can have pizza back in my life. So it is like a religious experience to me.
Helga, actually, in our neighborhood, Willow Glen Pizza does a gluten-free pizza on it's like a cornmeal crust.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah, so I have discovered that like most gluten-free options, so somebody like one of our viewers sent me gluten-free cookie dough, and I would like to note that I have hoarded that like a rabid dog. Like it is the best thing, because I haven't had cookie dough since I've been diagnosed. I haven't had a fucking cookie. Besides like Hans's mom figured out how to do gluten-free chocolate chip cookies, which are amazing.
Wait, don't you like peanut butter cookies? Because you can totally do.
Oh
that.
no, I love peanut butter cookies. Like I'm
You
all
can
over this.
totally
Like
do
I'm,
those
I'm
with
just learning how to like get back into baked goods. But there's a local place, and so I'm gonna go with thin crust because that is the only way that I can actually eat pizza now. Because like thick crust or like the deep dish style pizzas do not come in gluten free. Just so you fucking know. And so thin crust, and we're gonna go with jalapenos, chicken, and a lot of pepperoni. And that's the way you do it. Light sauce, because too much sauce is bullshit. I'm sorry. You do not drown your pizza in red sauce. That is crap. That is a soup.
I'm sitting over here as an Italian persona, just like, fuck you. And
that's fine. You can say fuck you all you want. I'm going to say that is bullshit. I should not have to eat my pizza with a fork or any utensil. Like, if I have got to address my pizza with utensils, it is not pizza. It is a casserole.
Did the North have forks?
I don't know. They didn't.
No, we didn't. We had spoons, and we also had ear spoons. Thank you very much. I would like to note that we understood that the ear canal needed to be cleaned out way before anybody else. So go.
I'm also not saying that the Italians also understood that.
Yeah, way after we did. Thank you. I would like to note the time periods. A couple hundred years difference. Thank you very much.
Roman had ear spoons.
Yeah. And where did the Romans come from, Giada?
I think the Italian Peninsula.
Sorry, all I hear is emotional jerking off over here.
I know. I'm yeah, we're stroking.
Yeah, you're 100%. You're like preening. You're like
Italian.
So pizza belongs thin crust, super hot, light sauce. If you have even regular sauce on pizza, you're starting to drown that thing in tomato. And why would you do that?
Because tomato is delicious.
No, tomato is literally a carrier for other foods. That's all it is.
Like the cheese that's on top of it.
Yeah, there should always be more cheese to tomato ratio. And if you get into deep dish, then you're getting more tomato than you are cheese. And that's fucking bullshit.
Okay, so somebody actually, I've lost track now, but someone actually mentioned there should be no pizza shaming.
Yes.
All pizzas are delicious on some level or another.
We are inclusive.
We are,
and white sauce still equals pizza, by the way.
Oh, I know. So that was one of the things that like Thorfinn and I were talking about recently, because people are all like, Hawaiian pizza, pineapple doesn't belong on pizza. And I'm like, that shit is delicious. Okay. I don't have all of the weird hangups that Chicagoans and New Yorkers have about pizza. I come from California. We're like, put that shit on pizza. If it's delicious, go that pizza and eat it. And one of the things that I happen to actually really love is barbecue pizza, Alfredo pizza. Put it on pizza. I don't care. It's like wrap it in a tortilla. I will eat it. It's amazing. I love anything that comes in burrito form. But same with pizza. Put it on a beautiful crust. I don't care what you put the crust. If it's a thing or, whatever it is, I will eat it and it will be delicious if you make it with love.
I approve this message.
Okay. I would just like to note that I am not pizza shaming. I just think there's a difference between a pizza and a casserole. Okay.
Oh no, you're pizza shaming because you're saying
no. They're just different fucking categories. Okay. Deep dish is a casserole. It is not pizza.
Do I need to sit between you two?
Yes.
I mean, I don't.
Yes.
This might be the dividing line between Helga and me.
Hey guys.
I will Jello wrestle you over this.
Okay. I'm sorry. I've got you by 6 inches and 40 pounds.
Have you ever had curry pizza? Curry pizza is amazing. So this is a South Bay California Bay Area South Bay thing that I didn't learn about until I moved here. I was originally from Sacramento. I moved to the South Bay, but just very recently I have learned about this thing called curry pizza, which is basically kind of a pizza crust hybrid and naan. It's like naan and pizza crust hybrid, and it's got different varieties of curried meats and things on it, and it's a thing here in the South Bay that I just, after living here for a decade, did not know about and suddenly got introduced. It's amazing. So thank you, Morgan, for mentioning that in the comments, because that is some really delicious food. All right, so we should probably move on.
We will move on right after this. I will say, just to end this segment, that I am known for not putting a lot of things in my mouth. Like I'm just not. Like I have standards. So you talk about that non-pizza, and I'm just like, I would put that.
It's delish. If you ever come out here.
Oh yeah. I mean, our bod meetings are out there.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God.
Whenever we have those again. So
oh God, yeah. Whenever you guys get to come out. So, oh, by the way, our guest tonight is a member of the board of directors. I don't think we mentioned this until now. And yes, our like at least once a year, you guys have a bod meeting out here in Milpitas, which is right up the road from San Jose. I'm gesturing north of here. You don't know that. North, that's north. And that's where Milpitas is. And usually the bod meetings are centered around that. But yes. Yeah, whenever that's cool and we can hang out again, we're going to do Indian pizza because it's amazing. Awkward silence. I think we should move on to the next question.
All right.
Wait. Okay,
So,
go ahead.
the next question, let me flip to the right page for this.
I'm right there. I don't know.
So this one comes from Petriona, and I'm almost getting better at pronouncing the names that are like normal question submitters. I'm really sorry, I butcher names like a motherfucker.
Yeah. I had somebody be all sassy with me about the names recently, and I'm like, well, if you don't give us pronunciations, like you can't just expect us to know.
I was about to say, just give me all the hard names, and I'm just going to be like, let me just deep throat my mic while I try to like pronounce this, and then it might sound right.
I got the really hard one coming up next. Don't worry.
Yeah. So this one is, who is your favorite woman in Italian history and why?
So
I have so many.
I do have a lot, but this one just rises to the top because I've studied her in depth. I have traced her footsteps around Romagna, and so her name is Caterina Sforza Riario de' Medici, and she's the mother of Giovanni della Bandinere, and she is amazing. She is a true tigress. Her nickname was Tigress of Forlì, and she's amazing.
Who is she?
Okay, so if I get started here.
The non-Tulia people.
Can I be alone and think about this too? Like, gosh, I haven't thought about her in so long. So I have books back here. Like all these books are about her.
Yeah.
So she was the son of a condottieri family. Oh, no. Let me start over. I'm getting discombobulated.
I like how you're playing with your décolletage as
I'm such a fangirl.
Like, oh.
Yeah. So that's what happens. I drink and I
do the same. If I'm wearing anything like tactile, like so, as a neurotypical person, anything tactile, I'm especially velvet. This is me in velvet the entire time. I'm talking to you and doing this. And like,
so I probably will touch these a lot tonight. So Caterina was actually the illegitimate daughter of the ruler of Milan. And that her family came up through the condottieri ranks. So her family was a mercenary family who rose from obscurity in Romagna, in this tiny little town called Lugo, to becoming the Dukes of Milan. They took over after the Visconti family. And she was taught to hunt and hawk and read and speak and strategize. Her father was a military genius, and he treated his girls just like he treated his boys. And her first marriage was horrible, but his training did not go wasted on her. So she married the nephew, probably the son, but nephew of a pope. And they were given the lands of Imola and Forlì, which is in Romagna, which is why I go there all the time, because I have to like go to every place that she might have ever stepped foot. Yeah, I love her so much. So where was I? So she married Girolamo Riario, and he was a complete douche. He had no brain for strategy or anything. He ended up getting killed. She took over and did a great job. Two things she did. Can I wax on about her for a little while?
Please.
Okay, so my favorite moment with her is when she got on a horse 7 months pregnant and rode into Castle San Angelo, commandeered it because the Pope had just died. And she knew that her lands and everything the Pope had given them was about to be up for grabs. whoever was going to be the next pope could take it all away. And she knew her husband wasn't smart enough to figure out how to keep it. So she commandeered Castle San Angelo, 7 months pregnant, and she pointed the cannons at the conclave. And she said, I don't care who's the next pope. You guys promise me in writing that these lands are going to go to our children, and I will let this castle go. Her husband, being the that he actually wrote her several times, stop this, don't do this, it's going to be fine, this, you don't have to do this. I think they've made some verbal promises and we're good. So she finally let it go. But that was her first indication that this guy was just an idiot, I think. Well, no, probably much more than that. But so then they moved to her lands. Actually, they were promised and she got to keep them for her children. And they moved back to Forlì and Imola. He was assassinated. The next really cool thing was when she stood on the fortress wall, and they say that after he was assassinated and her family's lives were in danger, that she commandeered Ravaldino, the fortress there in Forlì, and 2 or 3 emissaries came to talk to her, and they said, hey, we have your kids, we're going to kill them. And the lie is basically that she stood there and raised her skirts and said, I have the means to make more children, you can kill them. Now, I'm actually going to do a class in February on how that is, like, why that's not true and why we know that's not true.
Where are you doing this class so I can also take this class?
I will send you the link. It's an event from a friend of mine's running it, and they're in Trimaris. So it's a Trimarian event. And so I'm so happy to talk about like the research that I've done and the tidbits that I've found. The people who were on the ground say something very different happened. And the people who were all about propaganda and smearing women's names said that happened. So they were trying to paint her as this heartless, non-woman woman who would say this horrible thing about her kids. However, I wouldn't have put it past her to say some pretty horrible things in general, just not about her kids, because she didn't need to. She had the smarts to do other things. So she had a lover. She had a secret marriage. He was killed. She killed everyone who was involved in that. So her first marriage, she killed everyone who was involved in killing her husband. Her lover that she married secretly, she killed everyone who was involved in killing him. Is there a theme here? Yeah, I like women who kill.
It's super. That.
Anyway, so I feel like her legacy is that her bloodline still runs in the royal houses of Europe because of her connection to the Medici family. Her final husband was a Medici, and her son was a famous condottiere Medici, Giovanni della Bandineri, and she's wonderful. I have tons of blog posts on her. I have a blog, labelladonna.net. I write about her all the time if you want to read any more. I feel like I didn't say that eloquently.
No,
because
you were super eloquent, actually. I'm like, this is my next one. Blah, 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 blah. And then, yeah, no. But yeah, actually, this question was something that I really wanted to ask because I also have an Italian persona, even though on the show you would never know. And I have 2 women I would like to mention. And I don't think I can be as eloquent as you were. So the first one is Veronica Franco, who was a famous courtesan of the 16th century. And the reason why Veronica Franco is maybe vaguely familiar to those of you who have watched historical movies, Dangerous Beauty was allegedly based on her memoir. It really bears no resemblance whatsoever the movie at all. I mean, it should have been way better than it was, and it was not. Like all-star cast, like it should have been great. But she was a courtesan from the mid to late 16th century, and I'm all about, like, when I got Laureled during my peak courtesan phase, and I was very, very interested in the courtesan class in Italy, particularly northern Italy, because of its very egalitarian way that they determined that women who rose amongst this class could come from, like, you know, the gutters and then become super powerful. And that was something to me that I felt was very relational to my own dumb backstory. So Veronica Franco is the first courtesan that most people ever get introduced to. She, like I said, had a major motion picture kind of made about her in the form of dangerous beauty. But once you dig into the whole courtesan class of the Italian strata, you get into these really interesting female characters, and it's just this really cool deep dive that you get to go down into. And one of the characters that came out very early on, because I am an art historian, and one of my I have a master's degree in art history. One of the people that I learned about in the course of my studies was this courtesan named Tullia de Aragona. And that's where I took my name from. There's only 3 Tullias registered in the SCA. One is an An Tir, who's rad. I love her to bits. She's Tullia the small. I am Tullia the tall, because she's actually shorter than me, which is really crazy. And then there's a third Tullia somewhere easterly from here. But I am the only one who took the late period Tullia as my inspiration. Tullia de Aragona was the precursor to Veronica Franco, and a lot of the I guess a lot of the headway that we like to credit Veronica with was really spearheaded by Tullia. And so I just go with my girl Tullia de Aragona. I am Tullia de Ferrara Allori. That's who I am.
So I put that in our little chat, actually, because as you were talking, I figured you were going there, and I was like, are you going to say that name?
I am going to say Tullia de Aragona. Yes, in fact, I am. And she was very famous because she was actually, and so here's second favorite thing of mine is that my name, my patronymic, my last name of my persona is from the artist Alessandro Allori, who was one of my favorite Italian artists. He was also well known for having painted Tullia. So Tullia de Aragona, Tullia Allori da Ferrara. That's how it comes out. But,
and Ferrara is the city I go to every year. My best friend lives there. Like, I love Ferrara. And so we're going to have to talk more and geek out about
we are so going to have to talk, because Ferrara
life is amazing. The things that the fact that she traveled around and was like renowned in several different cities, the fact that she was known for having a guard.
Yes, she was literally like everything that we say about courtesans, about how they were incredibly powerful and rich and wealthy and kind of like movers and shakers in Italian politics. Like Tullia was the first that we have record, like kind of name records of, where there were others that came before her where like this powerful person had this courtesan girlfriend essentially. But Tullia de Aragona made her own way. She really carved her own way. And actually, she came from a Spanish family. Her father was allegedly a cardinal, a Spanish cardinal. So that's the Aragon from Spain. But yeah, that's this weird connection. Anyway. Yeah, no, so fascinating. The one of the things that I love about Italian history is that it is when the rest of Europe is just like, fuck you, women, Italians were all like, yeah, let's go weirdly in this direction with women.
And even I would say for Caterina, the fact that we have her like still room book, her recipes, that gives us another dynamic, like another so it makes her more authentic, right? It makes her multifaceted. That we also know that she had these alchemical aspirations, that she was into herbal medicine, and that her recipes range from beauty to medicine to how to fake virginity to how to make your breasts plump. Like, how to sedate someone for surgery.
Yeah.
Like, just amazing things. All these little tidbits, all these women's voices and women's lives that we get to learn about because there was a written record that really started in Italy.
I 150% what she said. Italy was way, way advanced. Anyways, Helga, would you like to contribute to this conversation where we jerk off Italian courtesans?
I would like to note that the Norse persona over here is just like, I got nothing. And actually, the middle finger is really just more of a joke to everything else like that. Is actually, I'm just not studied in Italian history, so I can't answer this question.
That's fair. Also, I would like to also, to be fair, because
to be fair,
Herald said, to be fair, the Italians were also like, fuck you women, but in a more eyebrow waggly way.
Oh yeah.
They
were horrible.
Oh, for sure. They were awful. If you couldn't rise above a certain class or a certain wealth level or a certain, like connection to influence, like fuck you if you have a uterus. Like literally fuck you. But they were better than the rest of Europe at the time.
I mean,
yeah.
or 7 uteruses because or uteri.
Uteri.
I don't know. If there's more than one uterus, would it be a uteri? So they believed that women had 7 uteri.
And they all roamed around the body.
And doctors never got to see the inside of a human. So some of them just went their whole lives thinking that was actually how it worked. So Helga, I do want to learn about Norse women that you think are. So I just...
you and I can totally geek out on that. So this is going to be the weird thing, or not the weird thing, but this is just going to be my, I'm going to come out of the closet here. I'm actually a bigger history buff about clothing and some of the cultural stuff and like horses, amusingly enough, than I am about specific names of people. So I can't point to a saga and say, this saga is what I base this off of. I'm like, this is the dig that I base my clothing off of, or like, this is the idea and concept that we have extrapolated into this. And so like questions like these where you're like, oh my God, historical figures. I'm like, I am like Jon Snow and I know nothing. Like, and so that's where like, I'm happy to geek out about like Norse culture and like Rus, Slavic, some Scythian stuff. And like Scythian again is like Viking. I'm just going to put that out here. Like I say this all the time. Scythian is a very broad term for many, 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 many cultures. And so like, I'm happy to geek out about like the cultural aspects. I can't tell you a single fucking name that involves any of them.
And the Langobards, they had a connection to the Norse, right? Because I've seen some of the digs in 2 of the cities that I visited last year. Well, not last year, the year before, because pandemic was last year. There was a Langobard exhibit in this tiny little town. And I had never really looked at like the clothing and the accoutrements that they were buried with. But I was like, that reminds me of a Norse burial. And so I took all these pictures and I wrote down a bunch of stuff. And I thought, if I did another persona that I wanted to be more appropriate for An Tir and still be on that Italian Peninsula, I was like, I could be a Langobard. But it really reminded me of Norse culture. Is there a connection there? Did they come from?
That is totally something that I'm going to have to reference you to people that know more than me. So I would like to say that I'm an expert in anything. I am a motherfucking novice when it comes to all this. So I am like the Laurel's version of like every hated individual of I know enough to be dangerous, but not enough to be good. And so I'm still like in that phase of learning about both the cultures that I represent as well as the cultures that I'm interested in. It's the reason why I don't do a Scythian persona is, well, I've got a lot more knowledge about their like horse culture and some of their bard, like how they built their saddles and everything else like that. I don't feel that I represent any culture in my knowledge base enough to do it. Versus I feel like because I am white, I hope I heard everybody roll my eyes there, is that I can do a Viking persona with less pushback right now about my historical knowledge. So there's a little bit of like weird cultural acceptance about me doing a 10th century Bruce persona, which is like the hashtag easiest fucking persona to do. And so I have enough knowledge there to be dangerous. And like in the Scythian culture, I have enough knowledge to know that I don't have enough knowledge to do the persona correctly. And so I'm one of those very weird, like middle ground SCAers where I end up being a peer, but I am not a scholarly peer. And so I'm trying to currently work on that. And so I can't actually functionally answer your question. I can, however, reference you to people that can.
I feel like you're being very humble. But okay, we'll talk about this later. And
We can totally talk about this later.
I will share with you what I learned about the Langobars, because if there is a connection, I'm sure you'd want to know that we have.
Hell yes, like let's geek out on this.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
I am here for that.
And yes, we 100% hit research toe beans. Okay.
Yeah, actually, probably the first time on the show we've done that. Well, except for with maybe Kunhill, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we should move on to the next question, especially since one member of our tech crew is fading rapidly.
Poor baby ninja.
Poor baby ninja. So I'm like, just hang in there, dude. Just hang in there. You don't have to do anything. You just got to listen to us be dumb. So this is from Geneviève de Vendôme. When you take on a volunteer position that requires a lot of your time and effort, how do you still find fun in the SCA? So you're a member of the bod. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say deliberately. Like I deliberately, when I became submissions herald for Gleann Abhann, I deliberately just, chose to go to events that were going to be super fulfilling for me, because I knew I was going to have a huge job to do for my kingdom. But I wanted to still retain the joy that I get from being in the SCA and going to events and learning and teaching and chatting and all that camaraderie. And I think I brought the same thing into being a corporate officer and then being on the bod. I had a lot of good advice. So Baroness Franca Donato told me, you got to find what you love and hold on to that for dear life when you're in these positions.
Yeah.
Because you're going to see a lot of negative things, and you're going to hear a lot of negative things about your performance and what you're doing, and a lot of misinformation. And that could really bring your morale down. So I took that to heart, and I appreciated her giving me that advice. And so I do things like come on this show and hang out and talk about history with people that are cool. I do things like I still teach classes at online events. I still write on my blog a little bit. I do YouTube videos. I started a channel. I'm never going to be YouTube famous, but I still wanted to share the things that I'm learning. So I did this video on how to perfume leather gloves, a la, Italy 15th century and also 17th century. I had a recipe for that as well. So deliberately is my answer. I deliberately try to find the light and the good and the hopefulness and the positivity in my hobby, because in pandemic times, we know there are a lot of things to be stressed out about, right? Not just having work to do, but economic situation, political situation, bigotry, and how hurtful it is to be looked at as an animal. I'm a human being. It's very hurtful to see the things that are going on and hear things about my life tossed around like it's just words, when it really is about a human being's life, which is mine. So I deliberately try to find the good and hold on to that. And there's a lot of good in the SCA. There's a lot of great people. There's a lot of great activities going on. So I try to focus on that.
So this one's actually kind of a reality check for me. So when you take on a volunteer position that requires a lot of your time and effort, how do you still find fun in the SCA? So I've been an officer at the baronial level. I've been an officer at the principality level. I was a very short time at kingdom level as I was just filling in while somebody was reigning. So I only had to fill out paperwork once.
Arguably, though, reigning also qualifies.
That's actually what I was going to go into.
Yeah.
Is I'm going to say volunteer position is you always volunteer to be royalty.
Mm-hmm.
It is an opt-in job. It is not an opt-out of job. It's an opt-in job. And I've done that a couple times. And what I do to still find fun in the SCA is remember that you can never be the thief of somebody else's joy. So we want to, when we take on a position that requires a lot of work, is we have been taught, especially by very Western, like not West Kingdom, but Western standard society, is that when you take on a leadership role, it is a trudge, it is a job. You must sacrifice everything to be good at this, and then you're giving yourself to whoever else is running the situation. And it's supposed to be a job versus something that you enjoy doing. And so that's one of the things that I apply, that never be a thief of somebody else's joy. And so I, in those positions, live off of other people's joy. So like when the job is hard, I remind myself that other people are having fun because I'm doing this, and I will go enjoy their fun. I'll be a little bit of a fun vampire, but not like a fun vampire like I'm stealing it from them. I am just living vicariously through them. And that is one of the things that helps me continue to go forward, and especially in a job that's like taking a lot of time. So both my reigns were absolute fucking nightmares behind the scenes. We had Trimgate, we had a principality try to go rogue, we had a bunch of things that were going on, and it was a lot of drama, including I had my mom die like 8 days into my first reign. And so there was a lot of opportunity for me to be a thief of other people's joy, and take away that joy because I was stressed out or I was not okay or anything else like that. And so instead, I let, like, when people are joyful, they bleed it off. They surround themselves with that. Like, I'm going to sound really hippie for a moment. They surround themselves with that aura of just like what they're enjoying. Like when you're talking about like both watching Tulia and Giada go off about like Italian history. You want to know how I feel right now? I feel I feel charged and just amazing, and I want to go like read more, and I want to educate myself more because of their vigor in the process. And so when taking on those heavy duty roles, or when taking on those things that can steal your joy or steal your time, is surround yourself with people that are still full of life, and still full of just the wonder and the stardust. And you don't have to take it from them. Never fucking take it from them, but ride that ride with them. Like, that's the reason why I'm so protective of our newcomers. Our newcomers are a gift to everybody that's burned out. They're a gift to every set of royalty that is tired. They're a gift to every officer that is done with their job, because they are the spark that feeds everything else and to keep going. You just have to remember to shut the fuck up and not take their joy in it. Don't shit on them because they still find a spark. Instead, look at that spark and be like, fuck yes, I'm going to stand by that, and it's going to warm me for a moment. And so that's my really weird existential fucking answer to this, of just like hang around with people with good energy because they will feed you.
I 100% was going to say what both of these amazing women just said. But yeah, volunteers, the SCA has a horrible habit of kind of chewing up volunteers and spitting them out. And it's a repeating cycle of, well, nobody's going to do it, so I have to keep doing it. Like I am a kingdom level officer. I'm casting my net to try to find, people to be my successor. And it's hard. It is so hard to basically sit there and be like, I get chewed up and spit out on a daily basis, and these people want this job. How do I make them aware of how this is really going to kind of beat them up? This position is going to beat them up. And I am only a kingdom officer. I am not serving on the board of directors, which you can only imagine is that times 1,000. But in order, because nobody who will ever volunteer for a position in the SCA comes into it. And I did this as a very young person, very, new to the SCA. Within like the first like 2 years of the SCA, I held a principality level job, office. And I got holy hell rained down on me, like out of nowhere. Like assholes just came out of the woodwork and were like, I hate you because you're name, address, and phone number are listed in the newsletter. You're automatically an asshole that I can just, attack. So at 18, completely unprepared for any of this, I'm like, I'm just trying to do a good thing and volunteer for a position in this organization I like. Realized that there was a target on my back as an officer and as a volunteer. So it is a thing that the SCA, it's this really toxic SCA culture around volunteerism, where you literally, it is the target painted on your back. You take any kind of volunteer position and suddenly you're the target for it. How though? How do you combat that? Number one, you surround yourself with people who are super supportive, who are like, they are there to prop you up no matter what. Number two, how do you still find the actual part of the question? How do you still find fun? You look, and I think this is exactly what Helga just said, is you look for the fun. You look for the new people, the new shiny parts of the SCA, the people that are just like bright-eyed, wow, kings and queens and knights and ladies, like that kind of a thing. And you let that fuel you. You don't just say, and I've done this, and I've caught myself mid doing this, where like, oh, you think that now, but just you wait. Don't fucking say that to a new person. Say, you know what? It is. It's magic. It's magical. It's wonderful. It is, all the wonderful things that you think it is. And you leave it at that. They want to know more. Then you kind of can get into, well, there's assholes everywhere as you learn. The further you go in life and in the SCA. So I would say, like, how do you still find fun? You look for the new people. I'm going to just go with what Helga said. You look for the new people. You look for the starry-eyed, wide-eyed giddiness about this organization. And you don't try to shit on it when you see it. You just encourage it and you just ride with it and you just get wrapped up in it. So that definitely is something that I think a lot of people have a hard time with, though, is once you're in like the entrenched SCA, you stop seeing the new people. You stop seeing the fringies who are having fun playing their doombecks and, belly dancing at the edge of the event. And they're just having a great time and they're having fun, like, but you have to embrace that. You have to find that, seek it out and embrace it. The end. Am I the only one talking? What happened?
No. So I have a little bit of a soapbox.
I didn't even like see you there because I was looking at the question when I answered that.
Yeah, no, I have a little bit of a soapbox.
I just heard like dial tone. Anyway.
So instead of shitting on our officers, how about we support our officers so it's not like a death sentence to go into an officership? Instead, it's something that the community supports, because write your officers and tell them they're doing a good job. Here's why. Because our officers get told when they're doing a bad job all the time. When they're doing a good job, we ignore them. And so when like an officer has to be like, hey, by the way, I'm doing a good job because I'm not getting fucking hate mail right now. That's their standard of like, hey, everything's quiet, so I must be doing a good job. So how about we reverse culture? Tell your officers at the baronial level, at the canton level, at the principality level, at the kingdom level, they're doing a good job. Give them the 30 seconds of your time to tell them that, hey, thank you for your service. You are volunteering hours of your life for free so I can go play. You are making the society run literally for nothing. Our officers are unpaid. Check 0. You can't increase their pay or double their salary because it's still going to be 0. So literally the only thing that you can do for them is tell them that they're doing a good goddamn job. So there's my soapbox. Pew pew. Everybody drink. Giada?
Also, just you made me think about the fact that our corporate DI officer gets hate mail. And I just want to say publicly that instead of sending it to her, please send it to me, along with your contact information.
I love you a little bit.
Like, don't be a coward. Like, she is a corporate officer doing a ton of emotional labor. She's also a person of color. For you to send her hate mail says a lot about you. Like, I don't read all of it. She doesn't tell me about all of it, but the stuff I have heard about is pretty sorry. And I'm happy that I've never really met people like that in the SC, or at least knowingly met them. But yeah, don't treat our officers like that. That's the opposite of what we should be doing in a volunteer organization that says we're all about chivalry and respect and honor. Like, do better.
Yep.
That's all.
Yeah.
That. So with that, in our little soapbox, I'm going to call that's probably 3 soapboxes. That's one from each of us. So everybody fucking drink. I've already drank. Really, my entire goal is to get Giada accent drunk because I'm watching the verbal controls leave right now. And that's being brilliant.
And I'm on keto. So I haven't had a lot of bread today. I haven't had a lot of stuff to soak up this alcohol. I've been doing my tons of fat, a little bit of carb, a little bit of protein, and I've already drank half a bottle of wine. It's gonna get bad, people. I'm
waiting for you to pull the bitch.
Look away. I don't curse, y'all. So it's not like I'm too good to curse. It's just, it doesn't sound right coming out of my mouth. My friends always make fun of me. They're like, say it again. Say that word again, Gigi. Ha ha ha. Drink.
Yeah, no, you dropped your own mundane name. That's cheating.
Because that's what they say. However, but you guys have seen me get...
Okay, no, Sarah froze for I just dropped a mundane name.
I froze. Am I frozen?
Froze for just a second.
Okay, I'm back though.
But you guys have seen me get really real, and that is what I do when I'm drunk. I don't start cursing. I usually just start getting really philosophical about Caterina Sforza and Italy, and then about other philosophical topics. So be like, well, actually.
All right. Well, I've actually got the next question is a super philosophical conversation. So are you ready for it?
Mm-hmm.
This one comes from James, hashtag best friend, and hashtag, what is your single highest chivalry moment, either witnessed or that you have completed?
I'm going to beg out for half a second. I'll be right back, my dear. Answer.
Can I have a minute to think about it? Can you answer?
So this one's really, really hard for me because one of the things that I'm going to answer on this one is the single highest chivalry moment is the sacrifice of time. So heroic moments for me are different than chivalric moments. Chivalric moments are giving of self to the community. And so generosity for me is one of the highest knightly virtues because generosity continues our society on. Versus prowess does not. Prowess ends with the person. Generosity goes on for generations. And so the single highest moment of chivalry for me is somebody giving up their seat, is somebody taking the moment to carry somebody else's basket. It is actually the simplest things that we do within the society that create this ideal of chivalry overall. And so it is the person surrendering their seat, amusingly enough, on the subway. It is the person surrendering their seat in court. It is the person stopping to ask somebody, not taking, but asking somebody, can I help you carry this? Can I hold open the door for you? Can I give you a moment of my time? And the reason why I can't actually pinpoint the single moment of chivalry is because the SCA is full of it. You can pinpoint a single moment of heroic nature. You can you can point out a single most, sacrificial moment in life, which goes into heroic. Chivalry is done in multiple ways in small actions. It is the time you gift to other people because chivalry is bared or carried by our generosity. And that is the thing that will continue on the SCA, is we are chivalric in the moments that we generously give to other people. When they cannot, we can. carry that basket, ask that lady if you can help them, hold open the door when it would have been easier for somebody else, give up your seat when somebody you notice is standing and they can't for much longer, making sure that somebody that is hard of hearing has a front row seat in court. Those are moments of chivalry that build the society. There we go. That's my answer. It's a little existential. Apparently I'm feeling like I need like sparkles around me and like some hippie things tonight.
No, I love that answer. Gosh, so much better than any answer I could put together. So I want to like just say that's my answer too. But honestly, I can't beg off like that. I have to say that I do agree with you on the point that there are small acts of kindness that I see that are just as the epitome of what I think the SCA should be about as overt gestures of courtesy and chivalry that people say, oh, that is the epitome of chivalry. One small act of kindness for me was a dear friend, Luciano Di Giovanni, during Gulf NATO, while I was tucked safely in a structure, went to the Kaidoro Salon to check on my pavilion to make sure it was still standing. It was, but he knew it was raining so badly and that it could get bad again. He took down some really expensive tapestries that had been gifts to me from people who are dear to me, and some really expensive pottery that I could not replace. Not expensive in cost, but expensive in like the value of it to me and the way it was given to me. Irreplaceable stuff. And he brought it to me to make sure it was kept safe. He walked, through sight to find where I was and to make sure that I knew that he had put my items into safekeeping. That was a really special moment for me. Another was I have faced a lot of exclusion in my time in the SCA. I have been really lonely in a lot of spaces in the SCA. So the simple act of saying, hey, do you want to sit with us to eat dinner, to eat feast? Like, you have no idea how touching that is for someone who is neurodivergent and who is socially awkward and anxious and who is excluded a lot, to feel welcomed in that way. The same for when I visited An Tir, and so many people were just like, hi, how are you? Just, they didn't know who I was or what I was, but they were just nice and treated me with regard. Like, those things I think count for a lot. So those are things that I try to emulate and mimic. I try to treat other people with regard, no matter who they are. Say hello, make eye contact, ask them how they're doing, ask them if they have someone to sit with for feast. Those kinds of things.
I can't answer better than these two did. I really just need to say I'm gonna punt and just say what they said, because they covered everything that I would say. So next question. I know that's shitty of me as a host.
No, actually, I think that's one of the cool things that I'm just gonna actually point out on the show is that occasionally we're just like, they fucking said it. Like, we're good. Like, let's go on to the next thing.
You guys, both of what you said summed up the things that I would have talked about, and I can't say it any better than you did. So
there we go. So that leads us into the bonus question of the night, which is a sassy question.
My favorite question. This is my favorite. Sammy asks, the Italians are known for being petty as fuck. Tell us about the time you got to invoke Italian levels of petty.
Okay, so let's unpack that question.
Do it.
Petty is, what the young people are saying these days. And it really means like spite, which is low-key revenge, which, yes, is super perfected by the Italians. They have names for revenge. The artful, like the art form of revenge, vendetta, vindicta. Yes, I do believe that is accurate. So the question was, when have I been?
Yeah, you. When have you like found that out? that level?
So I love the fact that the show talks about spite sprinkles because I feel like a lot of my accomplishments in the SCA have been born out of spite because I will not go away because I love the SCA and I'm just not going to let anyone take it from me. So I stick around even when people are rude or racist.
Mm-hmm.
Or sexist or misogynistic or all those other things too. But I think I think a life well lived is the best revenge. It's the best vendetta. So I continue being kind and generous and diligent. I try to be thoughtful and I try to give my best. And I think that is the best way for me to be petty to all those people who think I shouldn't get what I've gotten because I'm Black and because maybe I haven't earned it, which I have. But just their perception of me and the things I've done and the things I've gotten aren't positive. So instead of responding to that in super petty ways, which I could, I just think being fabulous and swanning about doing so is the best way to be petty.
Agreed.
I feel like that is actually not just Italian levels of petty, that's Victorian levels of petty. That's like on point.
Yeah. Helga, you're the one who gets to answer the question next.
Oh man.
You want to punt and let me answer?
No, I got this, I think. I'm gonna literally say by my motherfucking existence.
That's good.
And so, the Italians are known for being petty as fuck. I don't know Italian history, but I'm going to go off this conversation we've had within Between Two Peers, where I would like to note the two Italians on the show have asserted their dominance in the fact that they are like the best culture. So we're going to go off that feel here.
I think we're the best culture. We got a lot going for us, okay?
Right. And so I'm going to say invoke Italian levels of petty is, so I had somebody on the field say, you should probably prove that you're worthy of that belt. Where I proceeded to beat the motherfucking dog shit out of them. And then, and in this process, I was told like, oh, hey, maybe I can give you some feedback and pointers at the end of this. Because you're my size and you're a new knight, and we'll see if you're even worthy of that belt. And really, that was because the statement was, "Oh, because you have tits, you need to prove that you belong." And I was like, and then I proceeded to beat the dog shit out of them in training mode. So I was just like, let's fuck around with this and let's fuck around with this. Because if you pretty much come to me and you're like, "Oh, hey, I need you to prove that you're worthy," I'm literally gonna fight you like I'm at practice. I'm not going to fight you like we're in Crown. I'm going to fight you like we're in practice because we're going to get a couple passes and we're going to get a little bit of everything else like that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at you, I'm going to figure out your fucking tells, and I'm going to smoke you for your tells. And I proceeded to beat the dog shit out of this dude and then sit down on the hay bale and look at him and be like, so, hey, about those pointers, what pointers would you like to give me? And this dude literally, if he had a mic, would have been like, that's not how this conversation is going to go. I would like to note that I'm looking for pointers from you, and we can have that conversation. And all I could say internally was, bitch! And that's how that goes. So I would say that that's Italian levels of petty, where I was just like, okay, like, this is what you're presenting. Go fuck yourself. And then I'm going to fuck you with it. And then I'm going to attempt to be humble about the outcome, when really the entire time I was just like, so I would say that that's probably Italian levels of petty, because that almost involves assassinating somebody and then fucking their wife.
Chef's kiss. I love it.
I was agreeing. Mwah. Que bella. So for me, I haven't reached peak Italian levels of petty yet. Just prepare yourself. When it happens, it'll happen. And of course, an Italian woman never gives her secrets away. So you'll never know when it's going to happen. It'll just happen.
I would like to note as her co-host, I'm a little concerned that eventually it's going to be at me.
It's
Like,
not going to be at you.
there's a level of like, is it
You
me?
ding-a-ling. It's not going to be at you. Your family. You cannot. No, your family. No. No, honestly, I have peak levels of vindictive pettiness in me, and they keep it very measured and very tamped down, and I only dole it out ever so little bit of my life. I am a human, and I am a petty bitch when it really comes down to it. Yes, absolutely. I will mark my enemies for life and remember them forever. I won't poison anybody because that's kind of frowned upon these days. But, I might make it a little inconvenient. So.
I'm sorry. I'm not gonna put it past you to poison the fuck out of somebody, okay?
I am not gonna put. No, I am.
No. No.
I was gonna be
think
like,
she
I
would-
am lawful good, and then I was like, yeah, I'm kind of more like lawful neutral. You're right.
I don't think she would poison anyone, but I don't put it past her to put X-Lax into someone's chocolate cake.
Thank you. That's more my speed. Yes. I 100% would, but I won't because I'm a nice person.
Me too.
Yes. Oh, but I'm petty. And I will never forget. And I will, at the strategic moment, exact my revenge, even if it is literally just to come up and flick your ear cartilage while you're not looking. And
Do not. And by the way, I'm just gonna put out. Do not fucking do that to me. That is fist fighting standards.
I would never.
Like, I just want to note that is like pinching the backside of my arm is actually fist fights. Like that is levels of like, and amusingly enough, like fighters like pinch each other all the fucking time. And I have a thing where I'm like, don't pinch the backside of my arms because I've got nerve damage in the right side of my body. And so if you pinch the backside of my arms, it literally feels like you are stabbing me. And I would like to point out, I know what being stabbed feels like.
So here's the thing. Everybody thinks I'm the nice one on this show. Really, probably, maybe, but I'm not going to say for sure wrong.
Good note. Sweet and innocent.
Do we want to do another question?
So actually, that was the thing that I was going to say is that we have hit the end of our scheduled questions. And so I would like to ask the audience, would they like us to continue going? There's been some amazing questions submitted. We've already answered one. I have one that I would really like to tackle, which I dropped into the chat of the Zoom that we're currently on. So
I gotta catch up with the chat. Oh my God, there's a lot of.
And so if people are good for us to go, then we'll continue going.
Yeah, let's. Our guests.
We all seem to be having. Giada, are you still having fun?
Yes. If it's Logan's question, I think we should.
Logan dropped like 40 questions.
Oh, yeah. No, Logan dropped a shit ton of questions. Okay?
Oh, wait, you're right. Look.
Yeah, you can see all of them. You're like, oh, Logan questions.
So I would like to tackle the Tarnmas fighter question next.
Well, okay.
Okay. Yeah. So the question that came from Tarnmas fighters is, and this came up from the beginning of the show.
Oh, I'm pretty sure is Sir Gar. I am
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, like is so the question is being a servant okay if it's you?
Being a servant. I think you put servant in quotes, and I think that means like serve a servile position to somebody. No? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was answering.
No, Giada, please feel free to answer.
Sorry, you answer.
Okay. Helga?
So since I answered ask the question, I'll answer first, whatever. Yeah. So the answer for me is yes. So like all things, we give words too much power. And we say in service to the crown all the fucking time. But if somebody calls you a servant, then they're demeaning you. And so the thing is that to take power away from that word is that literally I actually am a servant to the crown, being a knight, holding up the knight's chains. Like literally this means servitude. I swore an oath to it. And so the thing is, there's a difference, is how a person is treated gives cadence to the word. And so if you treat me like a servant, if you treat me as lesser because of that word, then we have a problem, because you are choosing to use that word as a demeaning thing. But when you are saying that I am a servant to the crown, you are giving me power. And so when somebody says that I am a servant, it depends actually on how they're presenting it, if I have a problem or not, is because I want to know how they are using the word. And so I will never, and this is also, so Giada, you can beat the shit out of me when we meet in person, is I make sure that races and classes that have been abused, I do not use this word with. And so for our POC members of the society, for our indigenous people of our society, for women, amusingly enough, I will not use this word directly. It is a servant to the crown, it is a servant to whatever, everything else, anything else like that, because we functionally as a society have given a servant to power, where if you call somebody a servant, we are taking away power. And so you must actually culturally understand the use of the word before using it. If somebody calls me a servant, I'm just going to kind of like ask them what's going on, because white as fuck, I can't actually be defensive of the use of that word. I can be defensive of the use of that word when applied to other people. And so that's my weird, very fucking weird take on this question, is that I have no problem being called a servant because literally I have an oath to it. And so thus I must always redefine. But if somebody else calls somebody a servant, then I typically take offense, and they're like, hey, we should probably have a conversation about your use of this word. So it's really like an oxymoronic weird bullshit in my head about this. Which is also the reason why I had a huge problem when answering the question in the show earlier tonight.
Giada, do you want to answer, or do you want me to go?
I think some of what Helga said resonates with me. Like immediately when I hear, would you want to be? Let me just look at exactly how it was written before I like. No, I can't find it. So
it is shoot. Is being basically the gist of it is being a servant okay?
Yes, I think being a servant is okay.
Yeah.
However, for people who have been told over and over again in the SCA, the only role they can play is as a servant, that it becomes a matter of rebellion, a matter of, I'm not going to do the thing you told me I could only do. I'm going to do more than that. So I don't think there's anything wrong with being a servant. My mother cleaned offices for a living. My grandmother was a maid. I work in service to many areas of the FCA. I work at Gulf Wars. I work for the corporate office, as a board member. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that word. It's just when you have to unpack what that word means and the connotations. If someone gives me the idea that they're saying all I can be is a servant, then we have a problem.
Oh, then it's like,
yeah. And that's something that many of our BIPOC attendees of events have been told. You have to play what you would have been in period, and that would be a servant. And no one else gets that message. So it just depends on how that information is being delivered. In general, no. Servant, it's a part of life. We all serve in some way in our real lives in the SCA. We do. But I think if it's being used in a derogatory manner to demean someone, then it's inappropriate.
Oh, Helga?
I would like to note that she just put that way more succinctly than me just like
I was kind of
fucking
like,
fumbling through it.
can't actually say anything else because literally she just said everything. Yeah, if you're trying to be like, oh well, you in historically, here's the thing. I am a historian. I have a master's degree in history, and though you wouldn't know to look at it by this show, it is a real thing. I am an academic. But to have somebody come at someone and say, like, historically accurately, you would have been in this position, blah, 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 blah. You know what? In the SCA, literally, we are a fantasy organization. We have a thin veneer. We have a thin veneer of history. But in reality, we are subject to reality. And in reality, me as a woman, I can do whatever I want. Historically accurately, sure, I would be somebody's, wife that got beaten 5 times a day and had to just crank out children and, was just shit on by humanity. But in the SCA, we get to be better than that. We get to be better than that. So, fuck, I've already lost the train of thought, and I am really.
I'm actually gonna say that train of thought was fucking perfect for as much as you like lost it.
So, I lost it so.
I think that the thing that all of us are trying to say, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that being a servant to something is different than being called a servant.
Right.
And context within that matters.
Oh, this is a really interesting thing. Because I have met people in my journey in the SCA. I have met people in the SCA who want to be servants, who actually do not want to be lords, ladies, gentles, etc. They want to be somebody who serves. And I am thinking very specifically of a certain individual who I will not name, but they do not want to have any other position in the SCA other than to serve another person. That was supremely uncomfortable to me as a person who came in to the SCA believing that everyone is a lord or a lady or a gentle of good standing by default. Essentially, that was what we were all told when I came into the SCA. So this person that I met who was like, no, I want to be an actual servant. I want to serve this person and be in a very servile position. And in a way, and I will say, this person was white, and in a way that was a very like privileged thing to say as a white person, that I wish to be addressed as somebody who is a servant to another person. It was a moment that threw me, and I didn't know how to respond to that, because I was like, well, we're all going to be, we're all nobles unless told otherwise. Well, they told otherwise. And I did not know how to actually deal with that, because I'm like, okay, yeah, well, what does that mean? Like, what does that actually mean in the real context of this? Anyways, yeah, I've actually extra lost my part or my entire train of thought in this, because ADD brain has completely taken over right now. And I've gotten like a text message. I've gotten 25 text messages. Jesus Christ. I don't even know what's going on.
So I'm going to say that all of us have been drinking relatively hard tonight. And so.
Oh, good. We have gotten drinking relatively hard tonight signal. Okay.
I mean, am I wrong? Giada?
Yes, Giada.
Yes, we have. I do have one question that I would like to do, though, before we sign off.
That's actually what I was going to ask is, Giada, do you have a question that you would like to tackle before we sign off?
Someone asked, do you have any ideas on recruiting a more diverse set of new people for the SCA?
we're going to have one more question after that, because fuck yes, tackle that question, and then I have a sassy question.
Stop being racist.
Mm.
like just stop. Like, so I love the SCA, right? I love being able to come somewhere where I can get like intellectually stimulated and have a great time geeking out about history and dress up in silk. Like, I can't really go other places for that in Louisiana. But I will tell you that every other Black person I know will not come to these events because of the things that I've reported happening at them. And at this point, I will not invite any people of color to these events because I will not be responsible for the way they are treated once they come. If someone comes that is a person of color, I will welcome them, I will help them, I'll befriend them. I won't discourage them, but we have a white supremacy problem in the SCA. Our census numbers tell us that. People of color do not come and stay. The people of color who do come and stay are largely people who are used to being in white spaces, used to putting others' comfort above their own, and used to denying their own discomfort for the sake of whatever the payoff is. And for me, it's to hang out with people who talk about history. So if we want to recruit a more diverse set of people, especially a younger set of people who are not willing to put up with hypocrisy, we need to practice what we preach. We need to stop pretending that chivalry is not about being equitable and inclusive, and embrace that it is, and walk the walk.
Sassy, do you want to wrestle this before I do?
Nope.
Was that a no? Did you just nope taking that question?
I noped you so hard. Do the nope. Literally, I am typing. Fuck it. I'm typing into our private chat. You guys, I've had too much to drink. I am noping out. So,
oh my God.
Please.
I love you so hard, and I love this show.
Yeah, I know. Nobody actually really does, but that's cool.
What I'm going to say is Giada's right on that. Is how we recruit is that we listen to our minority groups on how to recruit better minority groups. We cannot recruit the same way we recruit dominant groups. And so, like, again, white as fuck, like, different recruiting than what it would take POC. And if we would like more POC, then we actually need to make that our focus. And we need to understand that we must also then address our own biases in the process. And unless we're willing to do that, it's not going to happen. There's no like jerk off, like one motion, we're all better about this process. It's literally, we need to listen to the people that are our minority groups within the society on how to recruit those groups into the society better. But if we don't, then all we're doing is using emotional tactics to make ourselves feel better. That's it. So, i.e., listen to our POCs and shut the fuck up and do what they say. Giada, you look so just like...
I'm trying to keep it together, y'all.
Yeah,
no, I don't want you to keep it together.
Literally, I haven't had several cocktails in a row for weeks, and I did it tonight. That was a dumb idea. I'm just going to, I don't know. What are we doing? What's
so should we wrap up shall we wrap this up with a question that is aimed at Giada?
Yes. Sure.
Awesome. So I'm going to ask the favorite question of the evening, and then we'll wrap the show up. And then we'll go hang out in the after show. So if you want to come hang out with us while we're a little drunk and very, very sassy, and Giada is going to join us, this is how to do it. So the last question of the evening. Giada, who are your favorite corporate officers, and why is it Jessica and Bridget?
I love Bridget. She's amazing.
I do love them both. Like, if you guys don't know Bridget Costello, like, she is amazing.
Oh God, both of them though, but Jessica.
I figured they know Jess because Jess is on the show. But
I mean, we've been using, okay, sorry, we use mundane names. We should probably drink.
Okay, wait, hang on. I gotta ask before we go into this. Sassy, have we gotten you Brian levels of drunk?
No, not even remotely. Not even, I have not Brian myself. Bitch, are you even paying
I would like to know, hey, that is a level of drunk on this show.
However, I have been way drunker than this. It's just been a while.
so there's this country song that says I'm rednecker than you, and I just like had a flash of you singing I'm drunker than you, like with to that music, like
Yes.
okay. I do want to say I love Bridget and Jessica because those are their real names, and that was in the question. All of our corporate officers do an amazing job. Like you guys have no idea how much work they do. Jessica has a full-time job and she works another 40 hours a week doing the DEI job for us. Bridget, same thing, full-time job and then busting her butt.
Also in Australia. So
Yeah.
she's not even
coming to meetings at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Coming to meetings at 3 a.m. her time. And we're just like, it's 11 a.m. We're fine. JBK, our president, Renee, operations, Rusty, Patrick, they all do a phenomenal job keeping the SCA going behind the scenes. I love them all. I don't know if I could pick a favorite. My favorite to hang around at Penzic is Jessica because I've done that. But I mean, if Bridget comes and I hang around with her, it might be fun too. I don't know. We'll see.
I would have to say 100%. I think we've got a really good board of directors crew. I don't know. Like I feel very represented as a borderline Gen X millennial. We finally have a very good balance on the board.
Are you a Zennial?
I'm a Zennial girl. I was born in 1978. My birthday is on Sunday. Nobody said happy birthday, Tulia. No, nobody said that. My birthday's Sunday. I'm 43 years old. I was born in 1978. I'm a Zennial. I'm a borderline. I am not a Gen X. I am not a millennial. I am 100% Zennial. Anyway, not that I hate everybody right now for not wishing me a happy birthday.
We love you.
I love you.
Happy birthday?
Fuck off. Anyway. I love each and every one of you wacky bastards. But I'm super feeling vindictive right now because nobody cares. But the whole thing though, yes, exactly. I feel like we have a finally representational amount of people on the board of directors in my lifetime that are aware and wonderful human beings. That's my statement. The end.
So my answer to this question is, Bridget, you're right. That both actually, I have to extend this. That both Bridget, Jessica, and Gigi, because I'm just using mundane names, are my favorite board members because I know them. I get to interact with them. I'm very spoiled in this. You guys are very real humans to me, and so we can have conversations about what's going on that you're allowed to talk about. And go from there, because I realize that there's some corp stuff that I don't get to know because it's behind the doors, like what the fuck ever. But realistically, the three of you guys fall into that category for me because you're real humans. And I understand, like, we can have conversations about day-to-day things. And that's really, really cool, because also I understand that how those day-to-day things affect those decisions that are going on. And that's kind of big. And that's actually the reason why in the show we focused this on like getting to know you versus getting to know the board member. And because getting to know you is actually much more powerful than getting to know the person that you present to the board. So yeah, there's my weird, again, ramble on that. Pew, Also, apparently, I've just continuously like scooted my mic closer to me because this is what happens when I drink. Where I'm just like, this is my mic.
It? Yeah, because I keep like going down here, like, hello.
Yeah, I'm just like, this is my mic. Hello, like. So with that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wrap up the show because we've had a fucking wild ass ride this show, and I'm gonna
want it to end.
Well, so there's the after show on the Discord, which is in the description of this. So if you're not on our Discord, get your ass there. And I'm gonna say that I want to thank you very much for coming in and joining us. Sassy, you've been a fucking delight tonight. I haven't seen you this drunk in a while. It's been good.
I'm glad. I'm glad I provide entertainment to all of you.
Hell yes. So what I would like to say is, Gigi, do you have any shows that you would, or God, I keep using your mundane name. I'm sorry. Drink motherfucker. No, you have to drink too. Anytime I fuck up, you drink too.
What? That. Oh.
See? And so, Giada, do you have any shows that you, other things that you wish to plug, shout outs that you want to make?
Okay, so I have my own YouTube interview show called Cocktails and Costuming, where I interview costumers of color from all different walks of like costuming. So not just pre-17th century, but Regency and vintage. I also do a costuming and color one with costuming drama together with her. And then I have my own YouTube channel where I do things like perfume leather gloves or make cold cream. I'm just going to keep putting things there. Hey, you should come visit me. We should do like another video. Like, I love you guys.
Oh my God. Hell yeah.
Can we do a video about Italian women? Because I'm so there for this.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Cool.
Hell yes.
And there's a bod meeting next weekend, so keep your eyes out for information on streaming so you can participate. You might even be able to like see it while we're doing it instead of seeing it after. I'm old, so streaming and
me too, girl. Me too.
Bullshit. You're like my age. Fuck you.
What? I'm turning 43 in 2 days. How old are you?
I'm the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Plus
You're like literally a year younger than me.
+1. No, I'm 43.
I thought you were my age.
Yes, for looking fabulous.
Both of you guys have 10 years on me.
Yeah, I hate you. Whatever.
So Giada, what I'm just going to say with this is send me the links because we'll follow you on our YouTube channel, so you'll get cross links. And we'll add you to Between Two Peers on Facebook. So like again, we'll network the fuck out of that. So Tulia, do you have a shout out that you wish to do? This isn't Askanites. We're going to shout them out.
It is not an Ask the Knights. It's not Ask the Knights. So I will say, actually, not Ask the Knights, but the Coach's Corner has a lot of really great content right now. And Her Grace Helga is one of those really great people that they have on occasionally. So actually, if you go to the Known World fighter practice page,
Known World Fighter Practice, yeah.
Known World Fighter Practice, there's a massive amount of content on Facebook that is happening right now, and Coach's Corner has a lot of like different things that are going on at all times. I don't even know what's happening, but I always tune in because holy crap, they have a lot of great people talking about a lot of great things that are SCA related. So Her Grace Helga is one of those people talking about those great things.
I just pontificate about video breakdown.
Whatever. You're really good at it though.
Thank you. So I'm going to do the shout out to the Coach's Corner.
Wait,
actually, never mind. Holy crap, my drunk brain just latched onto yours like an idiot. And so I'm going to do our shout out to Askanites, also Calvar's Corner, So we have a bunch of sister shows that are going on now. And Calbar's Corner is hosting, basically Calbar is hosting Ask a Nights Live, Calbar's Corner, Outlands Royal Tea. And then my real shout out goes to the Queen of the West Kingdom, who is now hosting a Queen's Quarantine.
It's so good.
So once a month, you can sit down with the West Kingdom royalty and ask them questions, just hang out, shoot the shit. And I'm just super proud of our royalty around the known world for everything they're doing. A lot of them signed up for a job and then got given another job while we're in a pandemic. And our officers, our royalty, our support staff are all going to great lengths to continue the SCA. And so I'm going to say, check out their shows. Like, check out the times that they're trying to give to the populace. It's worth it. And it's worth continuing the SCA in that way. So check out the West Kingdom Quarantine. Because our queen is amazing and sassy as fuck, just so you know. And if you don't believe me, check out episode 1 of Between Two Peers, because that's her. So go from there. Beyond that, what I'm going to say is remember to like, share, and follow. All those likes equal doggo treats. And we occasionally post the doggos getting the treats. And so just remember that we are spoiling our pets with your likes. And this is what really matters in the show. And beyond that, next week on Friday, we are blessed with having Duke Fleeg as our guest. And so what I really need you to do is send in some AS Rock for Soft questions, because that's where it's going to go. Because we already have the question, who was the hottest chick at the first event? And I would like to know, this is where this is going.
So for those who are listening and who do not actually know, Duke Frederick of Holland, he is one of the people who was at the first SCA event, May 1st, 1966. The one that protested the 20th century. The whole thing. He was there, and he's going to be on our show next week because he has endured, one of the handful of those original guys who has stuck with it. And in the West Kingdom, Fleeg is everybody knows Fleeg, whatever Fleeg, but he was there at the very first event. It is kind of a monumental show for us. So think of actual gritty questions that you would ask the person who was at the first event.
So, Giada?
I think he comes to our board meetings.
He does.
Yes, religiously.
Yeah, he is always there.
You guys send in questions. This man is amazing. He's so attentive, and he wants to know what's going on. I can't imagine being in an organization for as long as he's been and still been I'm going to go to the meetings.
He's Gandalf. He's literally Gandalf.
Yeah, pretty much, actually. Anytime I see Gandalf, I'm like, oh, look, it's Fleeg.
He's 100% Gandalf. He's been here longer than all of us have ever been here. So.
I'm actually really excited about this episode, and we're trying to make it sassy as fuck. So submit those questions. And beyond that, if you wish to come join us, we'll be in the after show on the Discord chat. Link is in the description of this. So check it out. And other than that, like, share, and follow. We're almost at 750 followers. We're 3 short. So talk your friends into following us, god damn it. And beyond that, we will see you next week, or we'll see you on the Discord channel. So have a good night.
Bye.